A whistleblower lawsuit over the use of a private messaging system in the Children, Youth and Families Department. A restructuring of the Department of Workforce Solutions after millions in unemployment overpayments. And accusations from Republican lawmakers of secret meetings on how to spend over $1.5 billion of federal COVID relief funds. The honeymoon is definitely over for the governor as she stares down a re-election bid next year. The questions and criticisms may be rising, but Dan, how vulnerable is she really headed into the midterms when you think about the entire record?
Well, it's difficult to say. She has had reasonably high approval ratings as recently as last year, the last time the Journal did a scientific poll.
Right.
But there are also going to be some broader political trends that may present a challenge. You know, typically the party that is not in the White House loses ground at in other parts of government at midterm elections. So that's something that could favor Republicans next year. But we'll have to see. New Mexico's been a pretty blue state in the last few election cycles. So, and we're not sure yet who the Republican nominee will be.
Sophie, you know, every administration has issues, troubles, is part of the game. As things go along, you get sideways with certain constituencies. It just happens. But does this growing list of questionable things give you or others some pause here? Can this just be chalked up to dealing with COVID-19 for 16 months and we should just sort of look at it through that lens?
I don't know that I would be that sort of, let's move along about it. Some of the issues, are kind of big picture issues for government, how we spend money, how we communicate in the context of open records and things like that. And those are not just this moment in time. Those are issues that need to be addressed longer term. I mean, certainly to your point, governments are complex creatures.
Yep.
And we have a tendency to sort of point and say, well, that's all on the governor. And on some level, yeah, the buck stops there. But also they're just complicated beings and difficult to control.
Merritt, we've got an issue with CYFD. It seems there's an issue for every sitting governor, but this one in particular over transparency and the use of, certain kinds of messaging out there. If you could briefly kind of give us just in a minute or so what's going on there and your sense of where the governor stands on this issue.
Well, two very senior level employees recruited from out of state to come help make CYFD better attempted to do so. We're told to stop doing so when they pushed forward and said, no, this is really what you asked us to do. After 6 months, and in one case, less than 6 months, were fired. And what was noted, this is Cliff and Deborah Gilmore, and they've gone public and filed a lawsuit. And it was noted by Cliff Gilmore, our firing was the most competent, coordinated effort that CYFD made in our tenure with the agency. And it was over deleting a requirement to delete all text messages within 24 hours. It was a no bid contract for a $4.5 million software package and installation. It was a hiring process that was clearly to favor a certain candidate over others and not on the merits of credentials. And if it's happening at that high a level, God only knows what's happening at the caseworker level. And so this is really blowing up CYFD. And when you look at New Mexico, our state budget in general, without the ridiculous amounts of federal money pouring in, our budget is between 6 and 7 billion. And compared with other states, that's not a lot. And the way our state is structured, most of the power is in the executive branch. And the legislature gave more of that power to the executive branch under the Richardson administration. But truly, it's not a big ask for a governor to operate competently and expect the agencies under the governor's purview to operate competently. And we do not do that.
Let me ask Sophie a question on this, this regarding the deleting of text messages and voicemails. I'm looking at the guidance from the administration under text messages, and it says this, quote, every single text message that you send or receive likely qualifies as a transitory record. And what that means is messages, they don't convey information of temporary importance in lieu of oral communications. There's something very confusing about that. I mean, we want to have transparency, we want these records saved, but the guidance from the administration itself says, no, you don't have to save these text messages. What's the deal here?
Challenge here, I think the challenge here in terms of the open records laws, IPRA in New Mexico, is that it's not the mode of communication or the mode of recording, for lack of a better way to put it, that should be guiding whether a particular communication is subject to open records and therefore must be preserved.
Right.
It's the content. And so these inquiries really need to be fact-based. Is it, do you have to keep "I'm leaving for lunch now" in a text message? Well, I mean, according to that guidance, it sounds like no. And my understanding as well is no, that's not a public record given the intent of the law. If you chose, and we've seen this happen, not just in this administration, right? But if you chose to put substantive information that if it was in another media would need to be preserved, if you chose to use Signal or another messaging app, Slack, if you chose to use text message in order to circumvent the requirement that a communication or a recording needs to be preserved, that's a different matter, and that is problematic.
It's also how caseworkers often have to reach their managers in, kind of crisis times on, I need permission. I need you to know I need to remove this child. Are you okay with this?
Interesting. And that would qualify in your view as a text that should be saved or not saved? Is that just the standard course of business? I mean, again, I'm trying to get to what should be saved here and what shouldn't merit. Is that?
I feel if we are removing a child from a home that is dangerous and that child somehow comes to harm and there is an investigation or perhaps a lawsuit, I feel like this would be evidence.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that should be saved.
Interesting points there. That'll have to do it for the line this week, unfortunately. Thanks again to all of our panelists. I want to thank Ed Williams from Searchlight as well for his reporting on this issue. Thanks again to the panelists. I'm back in a moment with a few final thoughts.